room when we send you at the end. So those are the two things to remember. But go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, this time we're going to do a quick run through, a silent run through. Nobody say anything. And then we'll go back and do it one by one a little more slowly and get Robin's very valuable critique. First one is called Afternoon Sunset. Next is Aurora over Kirkjufels. I have no idea how to say that.
Sounds good.
Next, we have Black Church of Booter. Cascade at Cochrane Mill. Clean Sweep. Dora at Sea. Everything Will Be Okay. Fall at Watkins Glen. Fall in the Coniferous Swamp. Flowing. Fuchsia Water Lily. Got to Get Them Bubbles. Grand Mare's Dress. Harvester. Horse, Carriage, and Phone. Hot and Cool Lily. I Won't Look Up. Kirkjufels Foss. I probably really screwed that name up, but Layers. Letcher State Park. My Windows XP. Odd One Out. Peace in Solitude. Shelter from the Storm. Spectator. Sunlit Fern. The Eyes Have It. The Eyes of Carnival. The Majestic. Tilted Tetris. Time to Head Home. Western Bee. Wild Thing. And that's it. Now are we going to do the mono run through? Or are we going to go through these and do critique? I can't remember.
No, we usually do the judging and then go through the monogram.
Okay. So Robin, I think you're going to, after you critique, say in or out, and then you can make your decisions in the break room. Right? Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Well, it looks great. And I really, really appreciate all these wonderful submissions. When I first look at an image, I think, what are the things that really hit me first, that are the real stars of the photograph. And for this one, the star is color, and it's that yellow gold autumn saturation that's so beautiful. The second star of this photograph is the light. It's the long shadows. It's the time of day. And I think that's definitely the time to get this. If the light was brighter or midday, you wouldn't have that beautiful color and drama. So that's really what I reacted to when I first saw this image. One thing I might consider is the amount of blue at the top, or do we even really need to see the sky at the top? And possibly, if there's not something down below that you're consciously cropping out, a little more weight at the bottom, a little more of a continuation of the fence coming down on the right-hand side to give a little bit more of a weighted triangle at the bottom, and maybe less of the blue. The blue is very saturated as well. And in a way, I think the yellow being the brightest, most vibrant part, I would just consider tipping the camera down a little bit. And there may be some more image down below. I don't know, but that would be something that you might want to consider. Next.
Is this in or out?
Oh, that one is out.
I believe it's a drone photo, so there are constraints.
That's true. That's true. Thank you for pointing that out. And listen, you guys, anytime I'm saying something in real time, please feel free to make comments. I love that.
Okay. Second on the list, Aurora over Kirkjavels.
So the beauty of the Aurora, yes, that's very, very compelling. The shapes, the darkness of the landscape, making the sky, some little stars coming through. One thing that I feel really, really strongly that would improve this really beautiful, beautiful picture is the sharpening of the edge of the mountain against the sky. And you guys may have heard me talk about this before. And I have images myself that when I apply any kind of sharpening, even kind of a saturation or any kind of filter, that really delicate edge of the mountain against the sky, the tree line against the sky, that farthest point, we want that to be soft because that's what gives us atmospheric perspective. The mountains get softer as they're farther away. And when that line starts to show up like that, it comes forward like a very sharp drawn line. It becomes more of an illustration than an atmospheric landscape. So what I've always done is just taken the little lasso or find some way to isolate just that part, and you can get the other part as sharp, as you like it, but that one little edge will remain softer. And all those beautiful, beautiful colors that are so soft and blended in the Aurora also would benefit by that horizon line being less sharp. And this one is out.
Okay. Next is Black Church of Booter.
And it's a black church, but isn't it a beautiful, beautiful gray in this atmospheric light? The clouds, the green is not too oversaturated. It's just sort of this beautiful color of the yellows in the grass against everything else being gray and white. So it's a color image, but it has real appeal because of its limited color palette. There's no other colors in there to jar us out of this reverie. So it's very beautifully done. Again, there is some over sharpening and that's creating a halo around the church. And I would like to see that softer. I think that would go better with the soft clouds and textures that are in the rest of the image. So if you really, really look at it, you can sort of see this sort of white, glowy outline around the church. again, I would go in and just take the lasso tool or any kind of isolating tool and go around it. And it's worth it to take time to protect that edge, so that it appears more like it would appear to our eye if we were really there. And this one is out.
Okay. Next is Cascade at Cochrane Mill.
The softness of the color too, I think, is a plus in this photograph. We get to enjoy the sharpness of the rocks. The rocks have not been over sharpened, which is really good. And we have a nice flow. One thing that I think would benefit this photograph is if we were either in a little bit more or back a little bit more. I just, something about it wants me to see a little bit more, but what I really, really, really want is more weight at the bottom. The log coming in and the space at the top gives it sort of a top heavy feel to the composition. And with all that water, we have all of it, the energy of it rushing down. I feel like we need something stronger down at the base to support that really strong diagonal coming down. And that would be the only suggestion that I have here. And this one is out.
Okay. Next one, Clean Sweep.
This is such an abstraction that I really thought about the title, and I was trying to figure out what it is, and I couldn't. And to me, that puts it into the realm of abstraction. I couldn't figure it out, but I like the that it's color, but it's monochromatic. There's nothing in there that's jarring us out of the reverie color-wise. So we really get to look at the shapes. It almost starts to look like some kind of glyph or writing or something like that made it interesting. But I don't know if the title could give a different title or another word or something to give us more of a clue. But it's a mystery to me what it is. And this one is out.
Okay. Next is Dora at Sea.
So the softness of this, I think, is a plus. It goes back to what I was talking about with you guys before about atmospheric perspective, that things in the distance can be wispy and airy and watery and not as sharp. Here we do not have a sharp line on the horizon. The boat itself is not overly sharp. And then this really lovely kind of aging, light fading, scratching that gives it an old nostalgia, I think really works with the subject matter. It's color, but it still has that monochromatic appeal. And the horizon being tilted down a little bit gives the boat energy, like it's coming this way, So I don't have a problem with, the horizon has to be perfectly straight. I think it gives the tilt of the boat a little bit of energy. So, and the other thing that I liked about it was the boat obviously is the subject, but it's not right in the middle. It's kicked off to the edge, and then these little light spots and things going around give it energy. It keeps it from just being, here's a solid sky and a solid sea. It adds another layer of texture over that. And with there not being a lot of definition of clouds in the sky, I think that was a great artistic decision. And this one is going to stay in.
Okay. Next is Everything Will Be Okay.
The emotion we see it, and the title reinforces it. I mean, you really see, this one little guy is definitely upset. He's really being comforted, and we see a human personification here that's letting us see these animals not just as a nature shot, but as a photograph that's about relationships. It's about communication. We start to see other symbols come in because of the emotion of the moment. One thing that I would change about this is the vignette, the darkening around the edges. I think some darkening is fine. I understand artistically what's going on here. You're saying the edges are not that important. I want you to focus on my subject. So some darkening around the edges I think is good. I would just back off and not do it as much. And another thing is if the grass, the patterns and things in the grass become too distracting, then you could just blur them a little bit too, to make them not as strong, to lead your eye away from the faces. I like the shapes of the heads being together and the hand, and I like the moment of it. So this one is going to stay in.
Okay. Next one is Fall at Watkins Glen.
Really, really extreme perspective here. That powerful center line right up the middle, everything going back with extreme perspective. And I like the shapes of it because that's so powerful in this case. And fall color is wonderful. I love it. I think I would desaturate the greens in here a little bit. I mean, yes, it really looks like that. Yes, the yellows and the sort of brown kind of tobacco tones, I think, work really well. But there's something about that specific shade of green that when I have it in my images, I back off. And if you have the option to go in just to greens and take the yellow out of the green, it'll make it a little bit bluer. Warm colors come forward and cool colors recede. And because there's such a receding line going back, that a cool aspect would really, really not fight against those perspective lines that you've designed here. So, and this one is out.
Okay. Next is Fall in the Coniferous Swamp.
So this is very zen, very, very chill. The reflection speaks back to the top part of the image. It's really weighted at the bottom. That weight gives us more of the simplicity of the reflection. So I like how it's weighted. I like the white, cool airiness going back beyond that first line of trees. It's the design of it is a little bit more elongated, which I think also gives it a nice restful experience. We are entering into this image. We're allowed to go in and see all of these shapes that are the same but different. The colors are wonderful, how they vibrate together. And the decision to not have a sky empowers it. There's not a sky at the top. There's not a sky at the reflection, and we don't need it. There's so much beauty and simplicity going on here in these repetition of forms. We do not need any other distractions. And I bet if you took that line, that wonderful little triangle at the bottom that's poking up a little bit to the left, if you drew a line straight down and selected the rest of the image over, I'm thinking that's going to be a square, a perfect square somewhere around in there. So you have this wonderful division of space that's can be diagrammed. You know, it's the golden mean is happening here. This sacred geometry where these arms are coming over and reaching to each other are giving us a feeling of shapes and circles. And I would love to do a diagram to show you guys what I'm talking about, because I don't know if you're getting what I'm saying, but the simplicity of this design is letting us see all of these wonderful hidden shapes. So this one is going to stay in.
Okay. Next one is flowing.
We know it's water, and we know that there's this abstract quality to it that's really lovely. The simplicity, that's another one of the charms of this image. It needs to be lighter, I think. I think it could print really large and be lightened up, so we get to see a little bit more of the blue and green. And I don't mean saturated, I just mean a little bit lighter. So I also wondered if you backed up just a little bit, just enough, so you had where there's that little line coming in from the top, and on the other side, if you came back and those connected more towards the corners, that's gonna bring you in more to the design. And I love the simplicity. I think with those little changes in a big print, you would really have something beautiful here. And this one is out.
Okay. Next is Fuchsia water lily.
The color, the shapes of nature, all very, very pleasing. I want to be in tighter on this one. I think there's some petals and things floating in the water that are not as beautiful as the flower and the lily pads that we have. So if I have a nature shot like this and I can get in closer, that's going to let me see more of the geometry. That's going to let me go in and really feast more on these beautiful, beautiful petals that you have here. I'm thinking tighter, maybe even a square. And where you have little pieces floating in the water like that, they could even be taken out. Anything that's like a brown or something that doesn't add to the colors, the beautiful colors that are here, I would take them out or crop them out. And this one is out.
Okay. Next is got to get them bubbles.
So the moment, feet off the ground, dog in the air, bubbles in the air, that's all sharp. The panning motion is creating a blur. And we have a really great moment here. So the fact that the background is so subdued and soft and does not interfere with the dog and the shapes is really a plus. So this one is in.
Okay. Next, grand marriage dress.
So this is a very nostalgic picture. It's generational. It speaks about family and the passage of time, and it's a very iconic, very classical idea that's done in a unique way, I think. We can have a feeling about this image without even knowing who these people are. So it transcends a mere family picture. While it could have a lot of meaning for the people that know this woman and her family, even if you don't, we still get an element of intrigue. You know, we don't know the story, we don't have to know the story, but we know that there's one there. And as far as a story in an image, I think it's very successful, and this one is in.
Okay. Next is Harvester.
The simplicity of these forms, the texture, very nicely done. The simplicity. Again, there's something about this green that, and yes, they're green leaves, and green is beautiful. I'm a big fan of green. I would really, really benefit if just the yellow part of the green was desaturated a little bit. And then it would become slightly more to the bluish side of green, and it would start to speak to the beautiful blue that we see in the emblem. And I really think it would be worth trying that. And this image is out.
Okay, next is Horse, Carriage, and Phone.
So the most interesting thing to me becomes the carriage itself. It's a vehicle, it's a moment. What would make it more about that as a subject? Number one, I want to see the bottom of the wheels. I want to see the curvature. I want to see the camera tilted down. And maybe if it had even been a millisecond before and the horse was back, maybe against the wider wall, without the car and the other distractions. So when I see an opportunity to take a shot like this, the very first thing I start looking for, okay, I see the horse and okay, cool, horse and carriage. Very first thing I do is think, where is that going to be simplified? Can I run ahead and have it against a wider wall, or can I have it against a shadow so the forms of the carriage pop out more because it's white, it's against something darker? So I really start thinking about everything else in there that's going to empower the subject. And when you have this opportunity again, try that. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. And try to get, like I said, the bottom of the wheels and more space at the bottom of the image. And this one is out.
Okay. Next is Hot and Cool Lily.
I really appreciate that title, because when you start really looking at it into the flower, you see that beautiful hot color coming out. And again, I want to see a tighter crop. Maybe it's a square. I want to see more of that good, juicy part of the colors that are down inside and those shapes. It could even be darker. It could be darker so that we start to see detail in the forms of those individual little stamens that are sticking up. And the two little pieces that are floating in the water, to me, are distractions. I mean, the ones in the back are fine because they're creating this really cool X pattern behind the lily that's supporting it. But those two little floaties in the front, I would just retouch them out, and that's going to simplify it. And I'm not going to be looking at that, so I'm going to enjoy looking at the flower part even more. And this one is out.
Okay. Next is I Won't Look Up.
So in addition to the form of the cat, there's this wonderful, wonderful blue that's going on. So when I see this, it's like, okay, well, that's a cool shape. There's some interesting stuff going on with the color, but the burning question is, where is this? I want to see something more. Yes, the cat is the subject, yes, that's going to make the cat a little bit smaller. But as far as even a design, I want to see just a little bit more decision as far as the background. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. Maybe this line is coming down and connecting. So there's something else that's coming back around and leading our eye back in. It's a very simplified subject, very simplified background. In this case, I want to see a little bit more. And this one is out.
Okay. Next one is Kurt Jeffelsfoss. I know you guys laugh every time I say that word.
Hey, that's better than I would say it. But I have seen this. It's very, iconic, very iconic formation. There's a softness. The sky is giving this depth. Everything's soft. I still would do that lasso trick to soften the outline. And I think that would add more to it. I mean, that's going to make it look more like a distant landscape, which it is. So, the foreground, I think, really helps that it sort of curves up and starts support and hold up the whole rest of the image. That curve is speaking to the other curves and shapes. So I think it's a nice composition with the falls. And this one is out.
Okay. Oops, sorry about that. Next is layers.
So you guys know when I was saying that warm colors come forward and cool colors recede? I think this is a perfect example of that. So when you say the title speaks of layers, we really have that feeling of extreme space, of seeing these two warmer and cooler, closer and farther away elements. I would like to see more of the clouds at the top going back. I think if we saw the tops of the clouds, and even that means you have to back up a little bit. And I don't know what's over here and over here, but I do feel like it would benefit from, because you have this wonderful repetition of shape in the mountain and then the ones going back. It seems like such a trivial thing, but the tops of those clouds would really, really complete it. And that's my main comment about this one. And this one is out.
Okay. Next up is Letcher State Park.
Again, going back, our eye wants to go back and just really enjoy the scene, the water, the flow. There's that wonderful arch in the back. And the main attraction here, and you really can't do anything about it unless you're gonna, go out there with a hatchet and take out that one little patch in the middle. And I, to retouch it out, I think would be a feat. It would be hard to do. But to me, that's the one thing that keeps this from being a perfect, idyllic. This happens to me all the time. I see something, I see it, and there's one thing that I don't want in the shot, that there's no way I'm going to be able to get rid of it. So in this case, that one little island, right, that's kind of scraggly, is to me a mood killer. All of the other plants, the leaning tree, the water, the bridge, the beautiful foliage everywhere else is like, mwah. And then there's that just one little scraggly thing. So what do you do? What do you do about it, And in this case, it would have to be retouched out. And I know that would be difficult. The colors, the time of day, you know, there's no real bright hot spots or anything to mess up your reverie. It's just it's something to consider, and it's something that that I try to work around myself all the time. And this one is out. Next.
Next is My Windows XP.
Total simplicity. Again, that horizon line is too sharp. And there are all these wonderful striations and grooves. There's this sense of what's not there, you know. It's something that makes me definitely think about, you know, the meaning of the title, the image. But when I see that white artifact on the horizon, I just want to soften it. And if believe me, if you guys will do that, it will really make a huge difference. This one is out.
Okay. Odd one out.
Again, here I'm very appreciative of the title because it makes me take a deeper look. And as photographers, we say a lot with our images, we're inviting people to notice something that we noticed. And when I heard that, of course, you know, you start looking and you see the uncovered bulb. And with the title and with the composition, it definitely adds interest. I think you could benefit by backing up a little bit. My only comment would be on the right side where the circle is very close to the edge, a little bit more, and maybe a little bit more of the curvature of the roof or the tent coming around would create another bigger circle that's holding all the other circles. You know, I mean, when I first saw it, it made me think of, you know, orbs in space, of planets revolving around something, and a continuation of just a little bit more of that curve. It just has a slightly overcropped feeling to me somehow. And this one is out.
Okay. Peace in Solitude.
The darkness of this is, to me, a plus. It's adding a mystery to this twisted tree that already has a mystery to it, you know. So I like seeing it in a darker way. I do feel that it's over sharpened and overdone in the effect that makes it almost halfway between a photograph and an illustration. So I want to keep that beautiful sapphire, dark sapphire. You know, I think it makes the sea become this really beautiful dark horizon line. I maybe desaturate it a little bit, still keep it dark, and not have it be so harshly articulated again, where you're getting that glow around the form. We don't want to see it outlined that way. We want it to just be continuous with the background that supports it. And this one is out.
Okay. Next, Shelter from the Storm.
The color that we see, that clay red, really is the star of the image. The snow, the trees are almost black and white. So almost is like, a black and white image that has this one unifying tone of color. From the title, what the photographer is telling us is the important part of this image is the part in between. That's the shelter. It's this formation, and that's the subject because of the title. Again, here, I want to see more. I feel a little bit truncated in my view. I want to see more on the other sides. I want to just back up, and the shape of the image itself is maybe 4x5, which makes a person think, oh, it's, it could be 4x5 film, or there's, a reason that it's that shape. But to me, it feels like it originally maybe was a horizontal, that we have more of a panorama view of it. And when I get to this, a shape that starts to be like this shape, then I would just go ahead and make it a square. What we're seeing at the bottom, there's like a little bit of a structure there that's not really adding, that sort of stops your eye from going back. That could either be cropped off and a little bit added to the side as a square, or possibly be horizontal, which would support the landscape image that we're looking at. So this one is out.
Okay. Next one is Spectator.
This title, Spectator, makes us look past the figure and look at the very sharp object in the sky, right? So this is a spectator. We become spectators with the figure. We're a second spectator, looking past him, standing there with him, looking into the sky. So I think it's an interesting idea. The title, I think, was very important for this, the meaning of this image. Because the figure is so big and taking up most of the area, I don't mind it being blurry, because you're focused on the plane in the distance, and he's going to be softer. Maybe it would be effective if the figure was a little smaller and not as prominent, and this is the shot, and it's very well done. It's artfully done. I'm just thinking, if the figure's a little smaller and the plane is a little bit bigger, we would have even more of that feeling. So it's a very interesting idea. This one is out.
Okay, Sunlit Fern.
To me, the real jewel of this shot is that soft, moody forest in the background. I mean, that background setting lures me. I almost want to look past the subject, past the fern, which is very sharp and bright, and I want to go into that soft, magical forest that's making this wonderful, wonderful background. So I like the composition, the setting, set the scene. The fern's off to the side. Our eye goes back to that wonderful space that's the passage through the trees. To go with that mysterious background, I would have backed off the saturation and sharpness of the fern itself, so that it became more soft and mystical and magical, like the background. It's a nice shot. It's nicely done and articulated, but I want to see the subject be a little bit more soft and mysterious. And this one is out.
Okay, next, The Eyes Have It.
So this is a wonderful example of something being very, very sharp and perfectly articulated, but not too sharp. Everything within the plane of the frog's face, the eyes, the detail in the toes, is wonderfully done. But it's sharp and colorful, but it's not too sharp, it's not over sharpened, and it is not overly saturated. So as we look at it, this is a very wonderfully crafted nature shot. And it's a documentary. It's a wonderfully done documentary. What I would like to see this photographer do is to experiment more with composition. The subject is right in the middle. There's a lot of area around in the background that's negative space, that's a little bit too much negative space. So what you did here is really wonderful. What I really want to see is to carry this into the realm of composition, and also, look for a whirl of leaves or other things that are going to come around and lead your eye back in and frame the subject to be more compositionally interesting. And this one is out.
Okay. Next is the eyes of Carnival.
So when we look at this, yes, we go right to the eyes and we see this figure. And then there's another figure in the back where we see the whole head to toe form. There's a simplified scene by the architecture of the background. And we look, our eye goes, one goes big figure, little figure, back and forth. So, I start to wonder, about how it was created, about the moment, the mystery. Is it a travel photograph? What is the real meaning behind this? So it is interesting. I would like to see the front figure be a little bit more mysterious, because she's looking directly at me. It becomes a portrait, and becomes a portrait of something that I don't really know the whole story that's going on there. But it's very well done, and it does have qualities. The image definitely has qualities in it that add interest. And this one is out.
Okay. The Majestic.
Definitely an icon. The neon, a lot of wonderful shapes, deco architecture. The cars are blurred. I want to see something else, though. There's this wonderful band of interest right here. You've simplified the foreground with the cars being blurred, which I think was a very, very good thing. But I want it to be back more. And it's sort of at that intermediate point where, should you be closer and not see the edges, and be more about the shapes of the sign, the neon of seeing within the diner itself, or should it be back more and an architectural night shot, the cityscape, something that has other shapes. There's just so much of the dark sky that's there. We see this presented. This is our subject. This is how it's cropped. Here's all of the subject right here. But the mystery is the design. And I think this would be a wonderful opportunity to play with again and consider how can I get closer or further back and add compositional interest. So this one is out.
Okay. Next is Tilted Tetris.
So the star of this photograph is the negative space. There's those delicious little slices between the building. And so when you first look at it, I don't even see the buildings at all. I see the sky. And I think that could be enhanced by making it lighter, or even more contrast. The buildings could go even darker. The sky would be lighter. The color of the lights within the building, that golden color, I think would become much more of a angelic kind of lighter gold if it was lightened. I think it's a wonderful composition. I think it would benefit from that. And this one is out.
Okay. Next is Time to Head Home.
So there's a very lyrical element to this, to the pairs. Again, it becomes a personification of nature, where we see two animals in the wild, and from the title, we are to think of them as going home, a couple, a pair, and I think that they have the similar shape, shows their togetherness. The background, the water in the foreground is very simplified, so they're off a little to the side. We have this other piece leading back. Maybe just a tiny sliver more of weight at the bottom would support a little bit more, but it's very, very, very restful, peaceful, and compelling shot. And this one is in.
Okay. Next one, Western Bee.
The tops of the clouds, that's a big, big plus in here. That's letting us know this is the top. Nothing more to see here. There's nice space at the top. Ideally, maybe just one more little sliver at the bottom of that gold going across where that shadow doesn't contact the bottom. Again, that's going to push it up a little bit from the bottom. But it's a iconic landscape background, but then we get a subject. We get an unexpected, nice, colorful subject that's right over the clouds, that pops it forward, and it gives us something that we're not expecting. So there's a real level of entertainment that I find in this shot, and this one is in.
Okay. Next and last is Wild Thing.
Everything is unified here. There's all of this stuff going on. It's all in the same color. We have this wonderful shapes of the trees. When I really go into this image and start to explore, I start to see a little pagoda lantern and some garden elements. And I really want to see more of that. I want to either see a decision that the photographer needed to make here, either tilt it down and get a foreground, a path of something that leads us in, because the foreground's there. I mean, it's sort of teasing us, like we can kind of see it, but not really. So yes, show it to us, tilt it down, or don't, and maybe get down lower and just get the trees and the shapes in an abstraction against the rest of the forest, so we don't see any of that. Again, here we're sort of in this no man's land of decision. Show me the foreground, weight the foreground, or don't let me see it at all. I do compliment the restful, unified greens in here. They're going more to that blue-green that I'm keep talking about, that I'm looking for. There's not that harsh yellow, brassy grass green. So the tonality is nice. It's very restful. and this one is out.
Okay. Should we move on to black and white? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we're going to do a quick.
I do need to comment, Robin. We need to pick up the pace a little bit, I think.
Oh, yeah.
You've
Sorry.
been really
Yeah, I can do it.
detailed, terrific, but we need,
Yes, I'm not paying any
because
attention.
we'll
the
have
time.
to afterwards.
I can
look at them.
step it up. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to do a quick run through, quiet run through first. A log can't stop the light. A morning together. Bird on a wire. Butterfly girl in IR. Correct. Candlestick by candlelight. City Hall somewhere. Darien shrimp boats. Follow the tracks. Headed home. Icelandic coast. In awe. The Skagafoss. It's complicated. Jekyll Island. Keep dancing. Ladies first. Let's roll. Like feather, like father, like son. Looking back. Memory of us, composite. Memories of us, pardon me, composite. Mom in tow. Nature's sculpture. Outstanding. Paper trail. Safety. Sunflower Gap. Time machines, rendering moments gone blur. Tunnel vision. Weathered clapboard shields. Etheridge Farm. Wild mushrooms. And that's it.
All right.
Okay.
Here goes. It's the lightning round. Here we go.
A lot can't stop the light.
Very interesting. The title made me look closer and see this little toothpick thing that's really the log. And the title tells us about it and makes it the subject. And I think it adds interest to this. The tonality is nicely done, and I think that the title gave us a whole other layer of meaning here. And this one is out.
A morning together.
So we're seeing a very classic theme. There's a real nostalgia to this, but we're seeing something in a very unexpected way. All of the lines are leading us in, drawing us right into our subject, which is very tiny, but it's supported. It's supported by everything else in there. You know, we have the perspective of the poles going back into space. The only thing I would do is darken that right edge a little bit. There's a little bit of a halo outline happening just to the right of the bridge where it's very white. And I would just burn that down a little bit to match the gray that's going sort of through the middle of the window. And that would be my only suggestion here. But I think it's Very interesting image. This one is in.
Okay, next. Birds on a wire.
Very graphic design. All the beauty of the repetition of shapes. And then the title tells us, and we see the one bird on his own wire. So this one I did find interesting and compelling. And this one is out.
Okay. Butterfly Girl and IR.
So the infrared in the title lets us know how this was created. Infrared lets us see architecture and statues against the shapes of greenery. So it lets us know that that is the subject. In this particular image, composition-wise, I would have more weight at the bottom. I would have that circle come down and really make a completion to hold her up more. And have more foreground and also get in a little bit tighter to the subject. I think there's some, with the trees and other things going on, you could play around with some other angles or design some really cool shapes here. Just by changing your viewpoint a little bit. That would be my recommendation. And this one is out.
Okay. Next, Candlestick by Candlelight.
So the geometries, the shapes, the softness of the background, it becomes an abstraction. The title tells us what it is. And I'm seeing it maybe even a little bit tighter or as a square even. But the nice part about this image is the sharpness against the softness and the shapes, the dark against the light, the negative shapes in between. Maybe if you got a little bit tighter on the left side, it would add more tension even to those very compelling shapes. And this one is out.
Okay. Next is City Hall Somewhere.
The juicy part of this one is the building itself, the contrast, the light against the dark. The part that doesn't really fit into me are the trees. They kind of lose themselves in the dark, shadowy part and create a little bit of clutter in the foreground. And I could just see that going away and having the rest of the image come together and be much more simplified. And this one is out.
Okay. Next, Daring Shrimp Boats.
Beautiful tonality, classic scene. There's a lot of negative space at the top. So again, I would tip it down. I would get all of the masts tight, almost touching, or maybe even going off of the top edge. Some of them going off and some of them having tension. So you really use that top edge to get tension with all of those beautifully articulated repetition of shapes that are so similar. We don't really have to see the tops of all of them, just of some. And then if you tilt the camera down, maybe you're not, maybe there's something there that you're cropping out, I don't know. But if not, I would get more of that reflection and again have it weighted at the bottom. It reads design wise as being top heavy. And this one is out.
Out, you said?
Out, yes.
Okay. Next is Follow the Tracks.
Very compelling design, graphic design, those white lines against the black. And it seems like this could have been created by just adding contrast to the entire image. I really applaud the photographer for making a unique composition here. If there was a way to go back and get detail in the sky, because the sky just goes totally to white and there's a lot of it, and because the bottom is so dark, we are losing detail. So there's a lot of empty space that's not really creating tension at the top. If there was a way to go back and get some detail there, it would benefit. But the design of this is so wonderful. This one is in.
Okay, next is Headed Home.
So night scene, city scene, wonderful repetition of shapes. We have the circular lights that are all talking to each other. We have these lines that really leads us in. Wonderfully weighted foreground. And then the silhouette of the figure against the light. So I thought this was a very compelling as street photography, as a night scene, and this one is in.
Okay. Icelandic Coast.
I want to see a little bit more contrast here. It's a beautiful scene. I think popping it with a little more detail, have the darkest blacks be really black, open the midtones and the darkest range, and just have more contrast overall would make it pop. And for some reason, I'm wanting to see a wider, slightly more panoramic view. I don't want to crop anything out of here, though. I mean, the foreground is nicely weighted down to the right corner. The tops of the clouds are there. But I think it would benefit from a little more contrast. This one is out.
Okay. In Awe, Stagafoss.
The tiny figure against this giant force of nature is wonderful. Again, I want to see the drama of that pumped up with more contrast. I think there's more detail in the whites and in the blacks. I would like to see a little bit more separation between the figure and the landscape. And then this piece that's coming in from the right, I either want to see more of that all the way up to anchor that as a strong vertical that we can look past into the falls, or not have it there. It's sort of in this indecisive position. So I would either say more in or not any at all. And this one is out.
Okay. Next, Next is It's Complicated.
And it is. There's a lot going in. You know, you start saying, what is the moment here? I want to be back more because the figure in the front is not sharp because you're focused on the figures in the back, and that's fine. I mean, you can only choose where you're going to focus to have one be sharpest, because the woman in the glasses is so close and so big and prominent. I do want her to be sharper, and I want to see more around them. I want to see more of the table, the objects on the table. I want to see the completion of his shoulder coming back in. I want to see the sign. And it looks like there's this wonderful arcade going back to the right. So I don't know if you've cropped into this. I think if you had more, it would make her blurriness not as much of a detraction here. But I like what you're doing. I like how you're showing us something interesting that's going on. And this one is out.
Jekyll Island.
So very classic scene that we know. And I like that these trees that are normally the subject here are used as a frame for two other subjects. Actually, a group of three subjects and then the boat. So all of these layers going back, it's simplified with the silvery background, that wonderful soft silvery line on the horizon that's not overdone. There's no harsh outline around the trees. We just get to enjoy the shapes, the silhouettes. The trees, the people, and the boat. So this makes a very compelling graphic design, and this one is in.
Okay, next is Keep Dancing.
So the photographer chose to articulate these shoes in a very illustrative and romantic way. And because of the subject matter and the choice of effect, I think it's very appropriate. I think it's very compelling. It looks like it's a square, a perfect square. If it's not a perfect square, I would make sure it is. I think that's important. It doesn't matter that parts of the shoes or the toes are cut off because we know what they are. We can see pieces and bits of all of them. So the decision to not have them totally in makes it more compelling. You know, we know it's there. And this one is in.
Is
In.
okay. Next is Ladies First.
So this is a very sweet moment, and I want to see more. I feel like the photographer thought, okay, well, here's my subject. There's 4 of them. Let's put them in the middle. There could be more of a shape. They could be off to the side. There could be a bigger boulder that can make them look smaller and more childlike. So I like the tonality. I like the moment and the subject. I just don't want them to be right lined up in the center. I think there's more tension that could be created here as far as the overall design. This one is out.
Okay. Let's
Okay. So the glowy whites, the dark blacks, the repetition is wonderful. The blurry twigs sticking up in the foreground are a detraction because there's just a little bit of them. They're not being used as a design element so that we're looking through onto something sharper. They're blurry and they're kind of messing up the groove, that we're getting with the other elements. Also, there could be a more dominant, even if it was a shadow or a silhouette of something else, one more massive dominant thing could add to this image. And this one is out.
Okay. Like Father, like Son.
So this is very pleasing to the mind because we're seeing a repetition of shapes. Even the texture of the carpet, the texture in the shoes, it all starts to kind of talk back to each other. So there's a real simplification that's happening here. I think it could be lighter and a little bit more contrast, so we see that pleasing part of it even more. This one is out.
Okay. Next is, Looking Back.
So just seeing the figure that's normally small against something as huge as the city is very compelling. We're looking, again, we're becoming the spectator with her looking at this view, but it's interesting. You think, how is she up here lording over, creation like that? The fact that the city is gray and softer, it's not over sharpened. There is not a hard over sharpened outline between the sky and land. It just goes softly back into perspective like our eye is meant to see it. One thing that would help, I think, is if there was a little bit of separation between her head and that one building. I know that's really, really picky, but if she was over just a tiny bit and we had this wonderful sliver of tension between her head and that building, that it would make it even better. And this one is in.
Okay. Memories of Us composite.
So I was very entertained by this. The ghostly aspect the old house, the story, the haunted house. I like the scene, and in some ways, the figure seems from another place. Maybe if he was less opaque, more transparent, and more ghostly, but I almost would not even want to see the figure here because the house itself is so interesting. The wallpaper, the picture on the wall, all the other things going on. So in this case, as much as I really, really like this image, the figure itself seems to be, in a way, distracting from this incredible scene. There's so much about this that I really do find intriguing. The choice of how that post is creating really two, almost like really even like three images in one, if you consider the upstairs. So this one is out.
Okay. Next is Mom in Tow.
And another classic example, I think it's empowering that we don't see their face. It's not a portrait. But I do think there could be a little bit more of a specialness to the moment. I think their position is a little bit off, or a little bit awkward, and then that big piece of seaweed is kind of not jiving with the moment in some way to me. There's something almost magical happening here, but there's a little bit more too much reality that's really there. If it were glowy, or the seaweed weren't there, then we could really enjoy their shapes more. So I'm gonna say this one is out.
Okay. Nature's Sculpture.
Nothing wrong with this one. It's glowy. It's beautiful. The horizon line is soft. As far, there's nice tension between the trees, and there's something a little bit overly symmetrical about this, though. I want to see something more unexpected, I guess. And this one is out.
Okay. I missed one. Outstanding.
So when I enter this, I'm looking at the things on the wall. I'm trying to get a sense of shape and perspective. The steps, the hallway, all of that is very mysterious. Again, in this one, the figure at the end is not matching the scene that's leading me back to him. If it was something that was a figure, maybe he was turned away, or there was something at the end that was congruous to the hallway, I think it would be more compelling. I'm trying to make that guy at the end fit with that hallway, and I'm not feeling it. It's not ringing true somehow. And this one is out.
Okay. Paper Trail.
We have all these things leading us back. And then the real piece de resistance at the end, which would be the whole part of the window or something else, I think would make this a stronger image. I want to see more to the right, or I want to be back a little bit more. And in some ways, it's again in that no man's land where I wanted the photographer to make a decision to get closer and show us more detail, or get back and give us a little bit more, especially on that right side. So this one is out.
Okay. Safety.
Great idea. the tension of the figure, the tree, it's got to have more weight at the bottom. There's something in the lightness of that background that makes our eyes go back and over that log when our real subject is the tension in the bottom. So I think having the tree at the top, or maybe if you got down lower where there was more of a foreground leading into the figure and the tension between the figure and the tree, that's the real compositional beauty of this one. And I think it could be designed to make it stronger. This one is out.
Sunflower Gap.
Here I want to see more of the detail of all the really crunky, beautiful stuff going on in the leaves. I want to be back and see a little bit more of the petal shape. So this is, again, sort of that intermediate part design-wise, where backing up just a little bit, I think would create more interest. It's right on the edge of abstraction, but we're still seeing too much reality, or we either need to see more reality and get a sense of some of the curves and other things going on in the petals nearby. This one is out.
Next, Time Machines, Rendering Moments Gone Blur.
So there is so much going on here. When I started looking at it, I started, either my eyes wanted to feast on the lower part or on the top part. So it's, in a way, it was two photographs in one that are fighting each other. I would take off the entire top part and just have the cameras and the figures in the bottom. I mean, to me, that's the real feast for the eyes. I think there's some wonderful stuff in there. And this one is out.
Next. Oops, sorry. Tunnel Vision.
A little bit one side or the other, very, very centered. If we could see a little bit more so the arch is not in the center, if we could see a little bit more foreground to hold it up, and then the wonderful figures that are in the background, they're hidden, they're blocked by that rail. So if there was any way to wait for someone to be a silhouette to come out into the tunnel over the white part and get a little bit closer to us, I think that would add more interest. This one is out.
Weathered Shields, Etheridge Farm.
Beautiful, beautiful tonalities, wonderful, simple shapes. It's an incredible background. I want to see one different, simple, major thing. Maybe it's just the shadow of a hand or of something else to become an additional point of interest in another subject. This one is out.
Okay. Last, Wild Mushrooms.
Again, I don't know if this is a perfect square. It could be. When I'm looking at it, though, I'm feeling it's, again, all of these wonderful repetition of shapes, more of the curve on the right to talk back to these other curves that are happening. Just coming back a tiny bit, I think, would make it more lyrical composition-wise, and this one is out.
No worries, you're doing great.
Okay, are we ready to go?
Yep,
Yep.
share screen.
I can share my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, winners. Y'all see a thing that says winners?
Yep.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, there are. In the color category, honorable mentions to Dora at Sea by Vivian
Hi.
Lynn.
Hey, Vivian.
Yay, Vivian
Yeah, I
again,
don't know.
once again.
Vivian
Tell us
and
about
Don
it.
here, have they left?
Thank you.
Also to,
Oh.
No, let her say something about it. Go
Let
back.
Vivian
She has to
get
make a
back in.
comment about
I'm sorry. Okay, Vivian,
it.
have a few words.
This was on Driftwood Beach, and man, I put in so many steps on these pictures. I had ran back to my car and got a different lens, and I'm running back and forth. And because I never ever see a shrimp boat, so I saw the shrimp boat, and I was so thrilled. First time I'd ever done that. So when I got them, they were okay. They were sharp. They all the good stuff to it. It was sharp, but they didn't have anything. They had no character to the shot. So I took it in a topaz and just played, and then I winded up just being so happy with my result. It
Is
was
there an
just
overlay?
wait.
Is there a mat or an overlay?
Yeah, there's several.
Several. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, and I just winded up having fun because that's the part of me that's creative, and I'll take a picture and I get so bored with it, and so I saw all the qualities in it, but I needed to change it, so that's what I ended up doing with it.
Hey, Vivian, you know, an old-fashioned way to get a shot like this? Use tissue paper, colored tissue
Oh,
paper.
good
Right over
idea.
right over the lens.
Good idea.
But this
I'll
really
do
tells
that.
this really tells a story. You know, it's like something you would see on a book cover. It has a narrative, a romanticism to it that you created.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you ready for the next one?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Everything Will Be Okay by Jen Cardinal. Jen here?
No,
Nope.
she could not attend because she'd had a long photo shoot today and she's all worn out.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome photo. Next honorable mention, Grand Mare's Dress by Michelle Simmons.
Woohoo!
Robin, tell them I didn't pay you. It
And Michelle, that's your daughter, right?
is my daughter.
And is that indeed her grandmother?
Yeah, and I didn't have my grandmother's dress. I never met my grandmother, but I wanted my daughter in my mom's dress. And as we took it out of the box, it fell apart.
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
put
wow.
my wedding dress and just told her to pretend like, so
Totally works.
Beautiful.
this
So,
was like at the last minute. I told her to lay on the floor and I got on the ladder.
beautiful, Michelle.
Thank you.
Well, you changed your point of view and you created it to be the way that you wanted to see it, and you changed your point of view. You're looking down, and that's adding interest and drama.
Yeah. And everybody wants to, she wanted to turn it, but that wasn't, when you turn it, she becomes the focal point, So
Yes.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
next honorable
Beautiful.
mention, thank you. Got to Get Them Bubbles by Mike Schaefer.
Thank you. Yeah, this was kind of challenging to get, but I had the equipment. We had the owner. This dog's name is a Welsh Terrier. Dog's name is Ziba. It's a little puppy at this time. This was taken last year, and we got a bubble machine. And so that means you're gonna have plenty of bubbles. And so I got on my stomach with a bean bag with my God lens. I call it the Nikon 2.8 300 millimeter lens. I did not have an extension on that. That's a big lens. It's heavy. But it's the most amazing lens there is out there. It takes phenomenal shots. It's a very fast lens. Use my Nikon D600, and I just got on my stomach and I just ripped as many as I could, hoping I get the shot. And I took many shots before that. So to get some of the shots you've seen of this dog, about 2 out of 300 plus shots came out really well. This one and another one, and that's it. That's all I could get. But I did pan a little bit, about 500. This is about 500. This is an f-stop 2.8. So that made the black background guaranteed to be blurred. And I just did the best I could, and I got 2 shots out of 300 plus. So hey, it worked out.
Yeah.
Got to
Some
push the
shot,
button a
Mike.
lot of times.
Love it.
Beautiful.
But continuous. Just rip.
That's a very difficult thing to do with a lens that long.
Yeah,
That's-
you're right,
that's
and
right.
yeah, you're right, but that lens is phenomenal. It's the only lens that you can really get a shot like this, and your success rate is going to be higher than with any other lens. It's just an amazing lens. It weighs a ton, but man, it does a great job.
Yeah,
I said exactly what you said, Michael. It's very hard to do.
But hey, you gotta just give it a shot and see what happens. I was lucky to get 2. I'm old.
Usually we focus on the eyes with animals, but the focus on the nose here is so spot on.
Yeah, you have to pre-focus so you're not, you have the owner, the dog will generally sometimes go back to the same path. You know what I mean? What dogs are, they'll come back if you throw things at them, they'll come back pretty much the same way. And that was the key element. I just pre-focused and just tried to hope the dog was going to be in good, close enough. And so that was part of the trick. So that helped.
Did you manual focus, Mike?
No, I had no. No, you'd never get the shot manually focused.
Gotcha.
That lens is so fast at 2.8. It's just it focuses so fast. It's phenomenal.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Because at 2.8 you get a lot of light in. That's the reason the lens focuses so fast. Anyway, thank you.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Third place. Time to Head Home by Jen Cardinal.
Jen Cardinal again, and her signature style,
Mm-hmm.
soft, painterly.
Love the colors.
Awesome.
I'm wondering, was this at Jekyll, do you suppose, Robin?
It was not at Jekyll.
Was not? Because she, Jen
It
Jen
was
went
at,
on
it was at St.
workshop
Simon.
with Robin.
It was at
And
St.
this
Simon's.
is the time for Robin to mention she has her Italy. Oh, I have a thing this Saturday, right? Online?
Well, okay. So thank you for telling me to remind me to say this. So normally it's every second Saturday. This is actually the third Saturday, but we do online Zoom meeting, and people get to really dig down and talk about what they're working on, what they want to work on, comment on each other's stuff. But we also have a goal that we set as well, and it's meant to be really fun, but also a forum to really dig down to do your very, very best work. So
Is your website, give the link?
TheThirdEyePhoto.com.
Okay.
As a regular participant in this, in the Saturday photo parties, I can vouch for what Robin said. I mean, it's really done me a world of good, because it's it's a group of people who have completely different styles in what they do. So you get to learn what different people do in their different styles, which I find kind of intriguing. And then all of these people with all these different styles but get to comment, and Robin gets to comment on what you did. And sometimes a light bulb goes off and you say, Eureka, that's a great idea. Sometimes you just dismiss it out of hand. But the fact of the matter is that somebody actually took the time to evaluate what you did. And I find that was, those Saturday photo parties to me are very, very valuable, especially for the price, Robin.
Yeah, $10. Woohoo!
Did you raise the price?
No, still a deal at $10. And the other thing I didn't mention is that I'm going to do the St. Simon's Jekyll workshop again in April the 20th through the 24th. And then late May is south of France, and then early June is the Cortona, Italy. So that's the plan.
All on your website, The Third Eye.
The Third Eye Photo.
Third Eye Photo. Okay. All right, Michelle.
Okay, second place. Western Bee by,
Me.
Daryl.
They're all right.
So I'm riding along in the bed of a pickup out in, I think it was Arizona in October. And I look over there and there's this wonderful beauty. And then there's this plane buzzing around. The first thing I've had people see this say, you photoshopped that thing. You pasted that plane in there. No, the plane was really there. And the reason I do that, because I love those western skies. Blue, big fluffy clouds. I liked it that Robin noted that I left the tops of the clouds in there. I had another picture where you said, should have had the tops of the clouds, and you kicked it out. So anyway, then furthermore, that was just a little Nikon Z50. Their new mirrorless. It's the lowest end of their mirrorless line. And I had a little telephoto on it, pointed over there, click, bam, everything in focus.
You had a pretty high
Yeah.
shutter speed looking at it.
So I'd have
The-
to look, yeah.
The propeller's not blurred.
Yeah, and it was aperture priority, I'm sure.
Well, yeah.
Very
but yeah,
bright.
pretty high shutter speed.
Okay,
Really fantastic.
place. You ready?
Look at
Oh.
that.
First Swamp by Vivian Lynch.
Yay.
Hey, big,
Oh my goodness, you guys, this was the most, and Robin, you even picked what I had experienced when I was there. I have never seen anything so beautiful in Georgia. There were 4 ladies. We rented a cabin, and we went because we heard about this place. And
Where?
it's George L. Smith State Park in Georgia.
Oh.
So it's like 4 hours from here toward Savannah.
I missed that.
It is the most spiritual, most tranquil. I have never experienced anything like this. And the other 3 ladies that I was with experienced the same thing. It was so incredible. You go out there and it was so quiet, and we were mesmerized by this. We did wind up renting kayaks, and we went out and we had so much fun and took lots of pictures. But this one I did print. It got chosen to be at the Atlanta Botanical Gardens in the end of February. So I'm going to be in that exhibit with this
I have a
one.
picture in
Oh,
that too.
that's wonderful.
2 pictures in there.
Yeah. So
I'll see
I'm
you
really
there.
excited.
Were you on a kayak?
No, this one was, I don't remember. This was from the kayak.
Wow,
But
scary.
we shot so many pictures. We shot in the kayak, out of the kayak. It was cold, cold, cold.
Oh, really?
Hence,
But it was,
Hence the fog.
it was,
yeah, the groundhog, yeah.
Yeah. You're like it was cold.
It was breathtaking. And honestly, it was so spiritual. So it was the most beautiful place I've ever been. So far, and I've been all over. I'm an Army brat, and I've been to everywhere, and this was so not a huge place, but it was so incredible on the beauty, and we were there at the right time on the right weekend.
To me, this is so oriental.
Does
Oh,
have a
wow.
kind of an oriental look, doesn't it?
I mean, it's simple, and it's, the colors are, you have like 3 colors involved, and it's very simple. So, and the shapes are very oriental. The colors, it's not cherry blossom red, but I mean pink, but it's you look at Japanese pictures and you see that color.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
It's very zen. It's what
Is
That was the word.
I agree with
Michelle, on to mono.
okay. Mono. Honorable mention. Follow the Tracks by Juhan.
Yay.
Is Juhan here?
I think he left.
Okay. Next is,
I thought the tonalities in that were fabulous.
yeah, they
Yeah.
were. It's cool.
Those tracks.
very cool.
Next honorable mention is Headed Home, also by Juhan.
Yeah.
Yay. Double wubble.
Very
Good
good.
deal for.
Yeah.
Downtown Atlanta. What's it? Well, it is. It says Marta. I can make out Marta written over it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marta Station.
Next honorable mention, Looking Back by me.
By you. Good
Very
deal.
Yeah.
I love that, Michelle.
This was taken at the Edge in New York City. And the background would have been blurred anyway, because it's so far away, but this was also taken through glass. So she's standing in front of glass.
I was worried.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not a composite, which is my kind of thing, but I mean, this is just like something I would composite, you know.
And the
Why
subject,
don't you take all the reflections out?
I didn't have any, and I don't know why.
Wow.
remember, Michelle shoots only with iPhone.
I know that I really darkened the exposure, like I always do with the iPhone.
Yeah.
When we converted it to black and white, I did it, I think, on the blue channel because her dress was blue. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think a little bit vignetting would make it a little nicer to me, maybe. Think about it. A
okay.
little bit, just a little vignetting,
Apparently not enough.
Just
There
a
is
little bit.
there.
Mhm.
but a little bit more, just a little bit more. Just play with it, see what you think.
That picture
Hey.
gives me vertigo.
That's what I thought.
Hey, you should be up there.
No, I shouldn't.
This,
You can literally you get into the point where
uh-oh.
you are standing there, yeah, and you can see all the way down.
Yep.
This
The
is-
glass goes all the way to the floor.
What?
Does the glass go all the way to the floor?
I wouldn't get
Yes,
them
it
anyway.
does. It does.
Ooh.
And then there's a piece of glass where you can look down to the road.
Great.
Oh, yippee-ki-yay.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Third place. Keep Dancing by Jen Cardinal.
I could hear style again.
Yeah. Second place. Jekyll Island by Juhan. Juhan,
Hey, Jew's doing great.
yeah, racking it up.
Wasn't along on your trip. Look at that.
Okay. First place. Morning Together.
Oh, yes.
By whom?
Mike Schaefer.
Mike Schaefer. Is that a
Yeah.
composite, Mike?
No, Daryl.
No.
No, it's not a composite.
beautiful.
No.
It
love
is
that.
beautiful.
This
Is it-
shot was taken last year in a little town where it's all in the country. It's a covered bridge. It's a well-preserved covered bridge. The town's very proud of that covered bridge. They had it redone, repainted.
Is it Indiana?
Yeah, and it's north of Fort Wayne, and I have two cousins living there. One is Zach, and I visited him and spent time with his wonderful family, and the other one, Abby, and Abby has a grandkid. She's just a little younger than me, and so we were going to go out and do some photography and stuff like that, shoot around that area because it's just wonderful. It's just
Yeah.
the country, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I asked Zach if he could ask Abby and to bring her grandchild and see if they could bring their bikes. So I thought maybe we can get a shot out of this. And so we went first thing in the morning before sunrise, and then we got to the bridge, and I just said, "Why don't you hop on your bikes?" Because this is what was my idea. They couldn't ride on the bridge, as you could tell, so they started at the edge of the bridge and just rode off. And I popped several shots of them, and that's what I got.
Fuji?
Fuji. I put a little sepia in it, a little tonation. And so I frankly was very happy with it. And I do agree with Robin. I think I'm going to burn just a wee bit that white on the right-hand side. So
Are they riding off into the fog or the rain or?
they got on the bikes and they started outside the bridge because you can see the bridge is kind of hard for, this girl to ride with her mother's help. And so they got on the edge and I just said, right off. And I just sat there and shot away.
Beautiful, Mike.
Yeah.
It
It
is.
really is.
I'm very
I
happy
think
with it.
I think it's the perfect balance between the magical and reality. I mean,
Yes.
you found magic in its reality.
Yeah, and like Vivian, like myself, we got lucky. The weather could not have been better for
Yes.
this kind of thing, and the fog did clear up a little bit, but man, it was just perfect. And so we just get lucky. Without that fog, this shot would not be what it is. It just wouldn't work.
Yes. Yes. It's beautiful. Makes you want to get up early, right?
Yeah, I was very happy with this photograph. By the way, when I metered for it, I metered for the darkest part of the bridge inside, and I metered for the brightest part of the picture, and I took right in the middle, and I started there to bracket. That's how
Good.
That's why it's not HDR. I didn't want to do that. So what I did is I metered for the darkest part of the picture, or at least the near darkest part of the picture, metered for the brightest part of the picture outside, which was that white part that you see, and then I took the middle and I bracketed from that. That's how I did that.
Wow.
I love best about this. What I see is you have these leading lines of the bridge, and then boom, leading lines change direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool and so dynamic.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
covered bridges are wonderful. They're just fun to be around, and if you get to, you get some people that maybe model for you, do stuff for you, maybe someone will just show up. You can't shoot the Amish. That's one reason I had them.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Why were the bridges covered?
That's a good question. They were probably covered because people had a place to go when a storm came or it rained. That's my guess.
And also that the bridge doesn't rot out.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I think covered was also if you're carrying like fruits or wheat or corn, you don't want your stuff to get wet. So that's part of it, I think, as well.
Well, they
So
usually
everybody
have.
Gonna get wet.
Everybody parks underneath the bridge, and
Or in the old days, they just put all their horses and carriages underneath it. There's a
I
rain.
think
That's
Robin's
good.
got it.
Ah.
The roofs are usually angled, so the water's going to run off.
see, this picture
If it
gives me
lands
a
on the
feeling.
bridge, it's going to sit there.
This picture gives me a feeling of being in the 30s.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, we have a covered bridge in Jackson County. That's pretty cool. Not too far. I think Jim and Daryl, were you with us?
Yes.
We went. Yeah.
Yes.
Remember that? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if any of us shot anything at it, but it's pretty nice.
And on that trip, I actually got a chance to ride one of those giant combines, humongous combine.
Yeah.
And so that was really great. I got some good shots while I was in the combine. So you'll be seeing some of those later too. So
Okay. All right.
Thank
So
you.
2 weeks from tonight, it's a program. Charles Seabrook writes for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and gonna give us this travel down this road in Georgia.
okay, thanks
Hey.
everybody.
No, thank you.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
Mary.
I'll see you Saturday,
job, Miss-
Michael.
Yes, I'll be there for sure.
I may be
I'm gonna
there.
sign up,
And I'm
Robin.
looking forward to it.
Me too.
I'm gonna sign up, Robin.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Michelle. Michelle, you did great. You
Yeah,
did a good
thank
job. You
you.
really did.
Right.
First time you're a star. Thank you.
I got to speed it up, but
Thank you.
I'll work on
Don't worry
that.
about it. Okay.